All right, so today we're going to dive into a concept called Guru Puja, but we're going to look at it in a totally different way. Seriously, forget everything you might think about external rituals. The teaching we're looking at here reframes this whole ancient practice as this deep, internal process of purifying yourself. It's a practice that promises not just devotion, but a really radical kind of self-awareness. Let's get into it.
So to really get to the heart of this, let's just flip our usual perspective completely on its head. What if worship wasn't something you do for something or someone outside of you, but was actually an act of changing yourself from the inside out? That's the big idea we're going to unpack right now.
So how does this path work? Well, it's all built around offering these 15 symbolic flowers. And just to be clear, we're not talking about actual marigolds here. These flowers represent qualities, energies, and even the illusions that we're asked to consciously offer up from inside of us to ourselves.
But before we can even start offering these inner flowers, we have to be able to see ourselves clearly. And that brings us smack up against the first major hurdle on this path, a concept called Maya. This is basically the veil of illusion that shapes our entire reality.
Now, the source material we're pulling from has this incredibly specific definition of Maya. It's not just illusion. It's described with this perfect, almost poetic precision as that which is not there, but which threatens as if it is there. Think about that. It's the phantom threat, the ghost in the machine of our own mind.
To make this real, let's use a classic analogy. Picture this. You're walking through a garden as the sun is going down. You see something coiled on the path ahead. For a split second, your mind, just filled with fear, projects the image of a deadly snake. Your heart starts pounding. But then, you get a little closer, maybe you poke it with a stick, and you realize, oh, it's just an old piece of rope.
So here's the crucial part. The rope was always a rope. It never changed. The snake was never actually there. As the source says, it was our own fear engrams that brought that illusion to life. The snake was a projection. The second our own fear calmed down, reality snapped back into focus. And that, right there, is the essence of Maya.
So once we start to see past the big illusion of Maya, the next obstacle that comes into view is the ego, or what this teaching calls ahantar. And this isn't just about being a little arrogant, it's a very specific kind of identity we build for ourselves.
The teaching makes this really fascinating distinction. Ahankar isn't just your inner self-worth. It's the identity you specifically build and project to everyone else. It's your social mask, your reputation, your public profile. It's that whole, do you know who I am attitude.
And this quote just gets right to the heart of the problem, that constant struggle to live up to some external image, to squeeze yourself into a frame that society built for you. Well, it's described as creating your own personal hell. And honestly, who can't relate to that? It's just completely exhausting.
So, how in the world do we dismantle these huge obstacles of Maya and Ahankar? This is where we get to the really practical part, the offering of those 15 symbolic flowers. It's a path that's all about releasing what holds us back and then cultivating what lifts us up.
So the whole journey begins with letting go. Think of it as spring cleaning for your soul. The first 10 flowers are qualities we offer up to be purified, and it's a pretty intense list for self-reflection. We start with illusion and ego, which we've already talked about, but then look at these others. Raga, which is being attached to your fantasies, moha, the habit of making those fantasies bigger and bigger, and damba, which is fantasy tied to stuff. It's about letting go of arrogance, of being fake, and of aloba, that mindset where you're always calculating what's in it for me.
Okay, so once we've cleared out the junk, it's time to plant a new garden. These next 5 flowers represent the amazing qualities we want to nurture inside ourselves. We cultivate ahimsa, nonviolence, not just in our actions, but in our thoughts. We practice indriya nigraha, which is basically getting a handle on our senses and impulses. We grow daya, or compassion, and shama, which is described as this inner balance or coolness. I love that. And all of this leads toward that final flower, jhana, pure enlightenment.
This brings us to the very end of the practice. And this is where it all comes together with this beautiful, incredible twist. What's the ultimate point of doing all this intricate internal work? Who are we actually offering these flowers to? And here it is. The whole point of the entire practice is this. The offering is not to some master or guru outside of you. By going through this whole process, by releasing and cultivating, you are making an offering to the master that already exists inside your own being.
The source explains that the final symbolic act of this whole thing is to place the flower on your own head. Why? Because by sincerely going through this process, you have become elevated. The worshiper becomes the worshipped. The entire journey is about finally recognizing the guru, the master that was inside you all along.
And so we'll just end with the question to take with you. Looking at that whole list of qualities, the illusions, the attachments, the fears, if you had to offer just one of those inner flowers today to find a little more peace or a little more clarity, what would it be?